Hello and welcome to Boxing in Your Face. My name is Joe Cortez, referee from Las Vegas, Nevada, the boxing capital of the world. Well, this week, unfortunately, we had a passing of a great legend in boxing, known for his fedora and cigar, the great legend of boxing, Bert Sugar. Now, Bert Sugar was one of the great personalities at ringside. He wrote over 80 books with great champions of the past, and he was always a very well educated boxing historian who had a little something to say about every fighter out there. He was controversial at times, but you know what? Nobody knew it better than Bert Sugar. So with the passing of Bert Sugar, we offer our condolences to his family, his loved ones, and of course, the fans. Well, this week we're going to talk a little bit about some of the great lightweight champions of all time, but we're going to talk specifically about one. Now, there would be great lightweight and junior lightweight champions and junior welterweight champions, to be exact, 140 pounders. We could go back with Roberto Duran, Manny Pacquiao, Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, Julio Cesar Chavez. In that category, I would say the last 3 decades, but these fighters were either starting at 135, worked their way up to 140 or even higher, like the Roberto Duran, who fought up to middleweight, became middleweight champion. But Carlos Ortiz was a very disciplined fighter who kept himself in pretty sharp condition most of the time, most of his career. He was right around there, 135, 140, 142. I don't think he even reached 145 when he retired. So he was pretty well in shape for those fights at 140 pounders. So Carlos Ortiz, who turned pro back in 1955, he was born in Puerto Rico and moved to New York City at the age of 8. Then he got involved in the boxing and the amateur tournaments. He was being picked on a lot because of his background, you know, and his broken English. But you know, Carlos Ortiz was very determined to become a fighter, and he was one of those guys that had a dream and wanted to become a world champion. Well, Carlos Ortiz fought in the gloves, won a couple of Golden Glove championships, then he turned pro at the age of 18. And you know, Carlos Ortiz was so, how can I say, he was a boxer puncher. I mean, when I was at the gym with him working out, I would see that he was very serious about his sport. He was never a joker in the gym. He was always very focused on what he was doing. Well, he had 20 straight wins in the pros, and back in 1959, he fought a southpaw by the name of Kenny Lane. Now, Kenny Lane was a top-notch fighter, but they were fighting for the junior welterweight championship, and he stopped Kenny Lane in the 2nd round. Well, that's when Carlos Ortiz started to get some recognition of the type of fighter he was. He was really looking forward to defending his title. Well, that same year, in 1960, he fought 3 times. He fought battling Torres. He knocked him out. I think it was in L.A. And in 1960, he also fought a fighter by the name, Italian fighter, Dulio Lloyd. And Dulio Lloyd beat Carlos Ortiz on a controversial decision in his hometown in Milan, Italy. Well, they fought again in 1961, and again, Ortiz loses by a 15-round decision. Well, you know, that's how boxing is sometimes. Sometimes you think you go to somebody's hometown and you think you're not getting a fair share of a fight, and maybe Carlos was not up to his game plan that night, because maybe he took the Italian fighter a little lightly, too lightly. And Carlos Ortiz said, well, I will fight him again, I can beat him. And knowing Carlos the way he was, the kind of fighter with that spirit, the determination, the spirit that he had as a fighter, he said, I'll knock him out next time. Well, to a big surprise, he lost a 50-round decision, like I said before, to Lloyd. Now, in 1962, I mean, in between then, Carlos had a couple of fights. But in 1962, he fought a fighter by the name of Joe Bones. Joe O. Bones Brown was a veteran fighter who tried to engage you in a fisticuff. He wanted you to slug it out with him Well, Carlos Ortiz knew better than that. So Carlos Ortiz was peppering him all night long with jabs and just trying to box it from the outside without getting caught up in that exchange. And what happened was that Ortiz won the title by his strategy worked to perfection. Ortiz fought like a real smart. He says, I based on mistakes trying to be a slugger. Sometimes you know you're a slugger and you take it for granted that you can knock out your opponent, you know. But with the cagey Joe Brown, Carlos Ortiz decided to box. And as he's boxing, what happened? He won a decision. It was a lopsided decision. He won just about every round. And he couldn't knock out Joe Old Bones Brown, but he ended up getting his title back. And that was great. Now, he maintained the title until 1965, when he fought and lost to the Panamanian fighter who was not a puncher, but he was a real slick boxer, Ismael Laguna. And Laguna was just so brilliant, and it went on, and Ortiz decided, you know, I got to fight this guy again. They fought again 6 months later, and again, this time, Ortiz captured his junior welterweight championship again, and he held on to it until 1968, when he lost, again, on controversial decision, to Carlos Teo Cruz, and that fight took place in the Dominican Republic. Well, Ortiz retired briefly after that loss to Teo Cruz, and then he went on, came back, and in 1972, which was his last year as a professional, he fought a great lightweight champion, former champion, Ken Buchanan. He lost the decision to Ken Buchanan, and that's when Carlos Ortiz decided, you know, this is it for me. But he had a good, you know, 17-year run, 17 years in the pros, and he had a total of 70 bouts, and you know, he did okay for himself. And today, most recently, I saw him at the International Boxing Hall of Fame. He looks sharp, and he's got his act together really good, because he keeps his weight pretty good. He's about maybe about 155 right now. Looks good, and talks about boxing a lot. And he says, Joe, if I would have been around today, I'd probably be one of the top-notch lightweights in the world today, because he felt that back in the days when he was boxing, there was a lot of fighters out there, and most of the top 10 contender fighters, at any given day, any one of those top 10 contenders could have been champion. And not only talking about top 10 contenders, you know, back in those days, there were only maybe 2 sanctioning bodies. To be exact, I think there was 2 sanctioning bodies, WBA and the WBC. There might have been the NBA at the time as well, but they were going out. WBA, WBC was in the picture. But Carlos Ortiz tells me today, Joe, I would have knocked all these guys out today had I been fighting at this era. But, you know, Carlos Ortiz will be remembered as one of the great ones in boxing. Now, you know, talking about the great ones in boxing, to stay at that level, you got Manny Pacquiao, you got Floyd Mayweather, you have so many up-and-coming, Tim Bradley, so many up-and-coming good fighters out there today that are just Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And you got just a top-notch bunch of top fighters are coming up that have to stay top of their game. And the only way you're going to stay on top of your game is, like the great Carlos Ortiz, he's telling me, Joe, I stay in the gym 360 days a year. He says, fighters today, they want to take off 4 or 5 months. Carlos will fight Saturday night, Monday morning, he was back in the gym, loosening up, doing something, kept his weight. He said, Joe, I never went over 10 pounds at any given time of my career, because I wanted to stay top-notch and ready at any opportunity that may be given to me. So he wanted to always be ready to go the distance. You know, fighters today get called at a last-minute notice. And if you really want to be a champion, you want to stay on top, be prepared, because if you go in there, they call you in 2 weeks before a contest, a fighter gets injured during training, they have to pull him out, they have to call in a substitute, and that fighter, that substitute, may be a guy that's looking to become world champion, but you know what? He was not in shape. You can have all the punching power, you can have all the moves in the world, but if you're not in condition, you're not going to be as quick. You're not going to be able to keep the pace with the fighter, with the champion, or whoever you're going to fight, because the stamina is not there. When the stamina is not there, you seem to lose it all. Your mind tells you one thing, but your body reacts differently, so you can't really execute your punches the way you would love to. That's why I tell fighters today, yeah, especially the young amateur kids that I work with a lot, I tell these young amateur fighters, listen guys, stay in shape, stay in the gym. If you can do 3 to 4 miles every other day road work, that's great. Watch what you eat, keep your weight right, no smoking, no drinking, no drugs, and you know what? You're going to make it. But you have to be determined and be focused in the sport of boxing. You have to be focused at all times to get to the level that you're dreaming to get to. Now, one of the things I'll tell you youngsters that are listening out there is not only for boxing, it's for any sport. You want to go to baseball, football, basketball, hockey, soccer, you name it. The same discipline applies. You must keep yourself in good physical condition. Watch your diet, watch what you're eating, because if you keep that diet right, you keep your focus, the conditioning is good, you're going to make it. But if you don't do that, the chances are that you are not going to make it. So with that said, guys, I will leave you with a sad note again today about Bert Sugar passing away. He will be dearly missed by all the boxing fans, officials, commissions, sanctioning bodies. Bert Sugar, we love you. May your soul rest in peace. Take care.